Pull up a chair. This is Fluxtaposed, episode 233, recorded on October 16th, 2018. On the docket today, IRL, a game that made us. What You Playing, featuring First Man and Norsemen. We have all the men, many men, mighty men. Finally, close out the show with that community grab bag and that sweet, 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 awkward finish. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to Fluxtaposed. I am happy you're here joining us, joining me, joining Can't Talk. I am Jason Lacey, and I am joined by my best friend in all the world, Mr. Lucas Rose.
Hi. Don't freak out if you can't see us, because apparently when we both share this as a streaming platform, things get changed, and I should have checked that before.
Oh no!
That's not good.
You know the black screen's a little bit of an improvement, I think, actually.
I tend to like it.
So are you doing some more of that on the fly, behind the scenes? I gotta put the cameras in.
Yeah, it's very it's like the scene from Minority Report where I'm just moving screens with my hands.
That's fun. I wonder what that means. In the future, maybe I'll just stream from my own profile still instead of using the mixed one. But hey, that's besides the point. Viewers, listeners, we're happy to have you here. Welcome back to an episode of Fluxtaposed. No, you're not living in the past or in the future. We pushed the show a week because Lucas is fighting some crud.
A day.
Yeah, a day. Thank you.
You silly bitch.
Can't. I should be like in prime form because I've gotten like consistently the most sleep over the past, let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, like 5-day streak that I think in my life. So I should be like, I should be good.
Or your body's in shock because it's like, my God, what's happening to me? What is all this sleep? The power.
But yeah, man, it's good to be back. I hope you're feeling. I know you're still fighting it. But thank you.
I wish I knew what it was, but yeah, I am here. It's gonna be a little bit of a downer episode, I guess.
Gallbladder.
I don't know for
Korea.
sure. What did you say?
Korea. I was thinking the episode of Seinfeld when George has to get a massage, and he gets the male masseuse named Raymond, and he's like, the whole thing when he's like, it shifted. He's like, what do you mean it shifted? You sure it wasn't a move? No, I've moved. This was a shift. Or no, he's like, I've shifted. This was a move. So then he like goes back and he's like all like laying there and he's all like anxious and nervous. And the guy's like, so how'd you hurt your hamstring? What? George, your hamstring. I don't know. You don't know, but you said it was tender. Korea. What? You hurt your Korea?
I have Korea. You're right. It's affecting all parts of my body. It's localized acute Korea. I don't know.
Perfect.
How are you? You said you got lots of sleep.
Yeah. Well, we'll just go right into it. Yeah. So.
Good time.
Oh, by the way. Yeah. Good one. Take a drink.
I don't have anything.
So last week was our 6-year anniversary. So we took that little trip I told you about up to Suttons Bay, Michigan, which you might have heard, for those of outside the state, you might have heard of Traverse City, Michigan. They make a lot of cherries and wine up in that area. And this is just like 15 miles from there in a peninsula on the northwest portion of Michigan on the lake shore. Really nice area. It's cold. I didn't realize how cold it was going to be because you're on the lake. Good thing I brought like one of my heavier jackets because it was dang cold up there. And we had yeah, man. And we had a tiny house through Airbnb that we stayed at, which was great. And it was just cool. I mean, it was the first trip away from our son. So, I mean, that that was different because it just felt like I should be doing something. You're not used to
Yeah.
that having that responsibility, but it was so nice to be able to like just do. We didn't really have any plans, so we just kind of tootled around, did whatever we wanted to do. It could take as long as we wanted to eat. I could sleep in. Unfortunately, though, he did get sick on Saturday. So most of the day, especially that night, we're worried about him. We were going to come home early in the morning anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. I mean, because we are concerned about him. So we kind of left even sooner. And then it was just like, oh no. And decompressing after the trip and him being sick. And then Jess feeling bad because she wasn't there when he was sick. And it was just, but the trip was great. We had a good time. I went
Until
to,
then.
yeah, went to a brewery up there that was pretty cool called Hop Lot. I only had one beer. I should have gotten I should have got like the sampler. I should have done some flights, but
Does it say the
they had some
sampler?
they had some bomb tacos, but it was cool. It was fun just to get away and do that thing. And I'm surprised Sean Capri is even alive in the chat because I don't know about you, Lucas, but you might have saw in the news that recreational marijuana is
Yeah,
legalized in
I
Canada
did.
now.
I
So
got
I
my
mean,
got my
that
eye on
whole
that.
that whole province of Capri land is probably just smoking down.
There's a hazy
Know what I'm
cloud
saying?
lingering over all of Canada.
Yeah,
Everybody's
man.
getting high. Good for them. That's very forward thinking of them. So
And beyond that, man. I mean,
Okay.
I'll talk
I
more about some of the stuff we did in the what you plan because it's like privy to that. But I mean, just hung out and I got read some, did some reading, watched some stuff, walked around town, had a lot of coffee, had some beer, had way too much food. It's great. Went to a farmer's market. It's like I'm buying all the donuts and the fudge, and
Ooh.
it's good.
You
It's a
bought
good
some
time.
farmer's fudge, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, farmer's fudge,
Gross.
farmer's fudge fest. But this trip did make me
Fresh.
realize that like I'm really sick of carrying a wallet. Like I have a Costanza wallet problem because
Yeah.
I have to have my mag card that gets me into my office and the other office because they have the doors that lock and you have to do a little card reader to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So that adds some girth already, which
Yeah.
you don't want. You don't
No.
want that girth in the
It's
wallet.
going straight to your spine.
Couple with your ID, your insurance card, at least 2 credit cards. And then you've got like a library card, my Costco
Costco
card.
membership. I was just gonna
Uh,
say,
I
800
always keep
receipts from
I always keep a
2015.
couple business cards. I usually have some frequency cards, a Costco, a coffee card, and it's like a Target card? It's like why do I have all these things? So I got a nice slim wallet. So posted a picture on fluxtaposed.com/discord.
I
If you're
saw
part
it.
of the Discord conversation, you can get in all that new stuff that we talk about.
Callow says
Today,
your condom collection is a big
lately,
problem.
speaking of Callow, we've had the education of Callow in Discord. He's learning about all this stuff about American culture he never learned. He's Googling all these things. And Kevin and I were talking about morbid stuff today, talking about death masks
I saw that.
and postmortem photography. So that's what you're missing out
All
on.
things I'm into. So
I
that was
mean,
really
you
nice
might go
of
to
you.
your other Discords, talk about your video games, your Spider-Man, your Red Dead Redemptions, maybe your Assassin's Creed Odyssey crawling around on statues' crotches. Well,
We talk
Fluxtaposed Discord.
about furnace motherboards. Where else are you gonna
Furnace
get that?
motherboards, gallbladders,
Yes,
and
lots of gallbladders.
and Jenny.
Oh gosh, Jenny.
Or is
Jenny,
it
I
Ginny?
got you.
Is it Jenny or Ginny?
I think it just
What's the
depends
correct
on what
pronunciation?
province you're from.
I'm amazed. I think they make every variety for Matt talking about how middle of the road cheap beer it is. They make every variety. They make a Bock. They make a juicy IPA. They make a stout. They make a
Oktoberfest.
basic bitch beer. They make everything.
They're the utility knife of beers.
Rochester knows what's up. That's what I'm gonna say.
But do they make a toasted marshmallow stout? That's what I want to know.
Ooh, I don't know. Speaking of beer, Battle of the Beer released today. So
Yes,
you guys
it
should go
did.
check that out. Check it out while it's still around. Who knows? It could be dead. Could be continuing. Nobody knows.
We don't even know.
We don't even know.
We don't even know when we're gonna film it again.
We don't know. And that's gonna do it. Lucas, tell
Okay,
me,
I got a few stories for you.
besides the illness, what's been going on? I know
Yeah,
one story I've been waiting to hear about. You teased us on the
with the
Discord
Wendy's.
chat.
Yes,
So
yes,
what
yes.
was gonna happen?
I'll start with that one.
We should be sponsored by the 4 for 4. That comes up in Discord conversation quite
I
a bit.
know. It's because we're all fans. It's a good deal. So, I was getting ready. I was gearing up to go get groceries. One Sunday evening, and I for some reason I had said to my son, I was like, "Do you want to go get groceries with me?" And I was kind of half joking, but kind of not. He's like, "Okay, Dad," because he usually never says okay. So I'm like, "Oh no, I've never like went to get groceries with him before alone." Because normally that's kind of a handful, right? You got a 3-year-old who's he usually doesn't want to sit in the cart, so he's kind of a bit of a handful for only one person to watch, and
Yeah.
I've never done it before. So I said, "All right, well, let's try it. Let's try it." So we go to the store and we get groceries, and he did a really good job. He rode in the cart, which helped me a lot because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to hold his hand and push the
I say,
cart with
hey,
one
he
hand.
doesn't usually do that anymore, right? He usually wants to walk
Walk.
along, right?
Yeah, and I don't blame him because riding in the cart is not fun, but you got to do what you got to do. And he
Much like the Passion Pit song, right? He takes a walk.
he takes a walk, take a walk. Yes, not this time though. He took a ride on the wild side. Anyways, long story short, we were getting groceries. It was getting late, and we were like, "What are we gonna do for dinner?" I don't want to get home at 7 and then start cooking. We normally eat at like 5:30, so it was just one of those breakdowns where we should have got groceries the day before, and it just didn't happen. So I decided, well, we'll just go to Wendy's. It's on the way home. Get that classic 4 for 4 action in my mouth for dinner and regret my decisions.
What's your go-to on the 4 for 4? I haven't
Uh,
experienced the 4 for 4 yet, so
oh my gosh, you should
I
be
am
for free. We've talked about it enough, as you said. You need to get a free sample so you can truly do the endorsement. I get the junior, just the regular cheeseburger because I am a healthy boy who's trying to keep that slim
no
waistline.
bacon for me, sir.
No bacon, no tomatoes, no mayonnaise, nothing. Just
No fun.
no fun. I'd get it without cheese if I could. Probably can. I don't try, but I figure I'm getting such a good deal. I can scrape the cheese off and save it for bartering later. Then you
Just
get
put it in my
those.
pocket and I carry it around, my cheese pocket.
That's right. It's my cheese pocket, my cheese satchel. So we get in line, and immediately I sense a problem. There are way more people in line than I have ever seen at this Wendy's. Wendy's isn't really a popular destination around these parts, so typically
Because
there's only
those
like two or
hamburgers are
three.
square.
They don't come out of the cow square. How do they make them square? I don't understand.
That's what I'm
Circle's
saying.
an organic shape. I don't get it. So we get in line, and I sense problems. Now people roll up behind me, so I'm stuck. There's no getting out of this one. I wait forever, and my first thought is, we waited for like 5 to 10 minutes. My first thought was, why are these people ordering like everything off the menu? Is that what's going on here? Is it the people in front of us? Because usually it's the people in front of you. They take forever. And then you get up there and it takes you like 2 seconds to order because you've been sitting there for so long that you already know every possibility. Right. And so I get up there and finally, after at least 10 minutes, I'd say, and the guy says, "Hold on 1 second, sir." What do you mean, hold on 1 second? You've had like 10 minutes. But okay, I said, okay, no problem. Because I still thought it was the guy in front of me. So I wait and I wait and I wait some more to the point where I'm like, okay, people think I'm the problem now. Now people are like just showing up and they're like, what is this guy ordering? It's taking forever.
Look at me. I'm the problem now.
So I order and I tell them I want the 2 4 for 4s. A regular cheeseburger one and a whatever my wife ordered. I don't remember, honestly. And so I think she got the junior bacon cheeseburger. That's what she got. That's important. That'll come up later. So I get up behind the person who I thought was the problem, and another long wait. And then I start seeing them sort of arguing a little bit at the window, and the
Wait,
passenger
the
and
customer
the
arguing,
customer and the person at the window
arguing. Okay.
about why it was taking so long. And then the woman in the passenger seat, she's doing the like lean over, like I can see her leaning over talking to the employee, you know, pointing the finger and being a little rowdy. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not them then, because they're complaining about how long it was taking. So I get up there and the guys like they finally get their food and go. I get up there and the guy said he's shaking his head and he's like, sorry man. I'm like,
He's like,
it's
I don't
okay.
get paid enough for this shit.
Yeah, basically. I'm like, it's okay, just don't spit in my food. Basically, I'm just like, things happen. Because I'm a pretty understanding person. I get sometimes that you're going to have to wait, even though it's fast food. There's just times where things happen. He's like, I said, you don't have to lie to me. Or I said, how's it going? He's like, man. I said, it's okay. You don't have to lie to me. I can see it's not going well. He's like, people just don't want to work, apparently. I'm like, oh, boy. All right, well, whatever. So I get my 2 drinks, and I get the chocolate milk for Isaac's kids meal, and I wait for another like 5 minutes. I'm just like, man, what the hell is going on? I get 2 bags. Now I should have known this was a problem because I wanted 3 things, and typically they bag them,
All together,
all
each.
separately, all together for each meal.
It's the moments when you don't check the bag.
Exactly.
It's when there's a problem in the bag.
And I always think to myself, I'm like, I should probably check the bag, but I don't because nobody's got time for that. I already waited forever. So I look in the bag and I'm like, yep, they didn't combine 2 orders in one and then put the kids' meal in the other. I have no kids' meal for my son. So now I already drove on. I also got no receipt. So I'm like, okay, are they even going to believe me? Thankfully, I got the chocolate milk. So I bring that in. I unbuckle Isaac and we go inside and I'm like, yeah, I didn't get my Happy Meal, but I have this chocolate milk as a signifier that I did order one.
I did
Please
purchase
believe
a
me.
kid's meal.
Yes, I literally just came through here. And the guy from the window looks at me and he looks at me and he's like, oh, sorry, man. And I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Like, I just want to go home with my food. So then they're getting another kids meal around and they're like pulling from that one. And I'm just like, what are you doing? No. And then they stop that and then they finally get another one made. I don't know. I didn't question it. I just wanted to get the hell out of there.
You just want to get out.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm definitely complaining on the Wendy's website because this has been ridiculous. So I get home, finally get all the food, and I get home. We open our 4 for 4s, and they include, one is a chicken sandwich, and the other one is a double stacker. So neither of them were correct. You only have to get 2 things right, what to drink and a sandwich, and neither of them were correct. Just the little cherry on top of this whole shit sandwich that's been Wendy's 4 for 4. They let me down, Jason. The power of the 4 for 4. Wasn't powerful that day.
I say there wasn't any power involved tonight.
It was,
or that night.
Made me sad. Made me very sad. So yeah, I got on their website and I complained. I submitted a complaint. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna complain.
I'm gonna get my $10 gift certificate, and I'm gonna go back and get 2 4 for 4s.
And I'll order things I don't want.
And they better be right this time.
Yeah, exactly. Or else I'm just gonna keep snowballing this.
I better get a free Frosty.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Burger King should have a thing where if Wendy screws up your order, you can go to them and get what you wanted or something. I don't know.
I feel like I started using I find fires to be very romantic. That voice.
That's a good voice.
I don't feel comfortable saying the first part anymore.
I was just going to say it. I'm like, I don't know.
It's not very PC.
In this day and age, no. Not in this climate of the internet. The other story I have happened yesterday, actually, and it was when I felt the worst by far.
So is this why you're sick?
No, it's not why I'm sick, but I'm sure it contributed partially to how I feel. So Danette comes home and she makes spaghetti because I was just like sitting in the chair zombified. I couldn't move. I was tired. I didn't want to do anything. Nothing sounded good. So she makes spaghetti and she puts it on a plate.
Don't touch on my spaghetti.
She puts it on a plate and she gives me she gives me a little sauce. Now it's weird making spaghetti here because she doesn't like red sauce of any type. So whenever I
So
buy
what does she eat on her spaghetti? I mean,
butter and salt and pepper,
oh
I
god,
know it's bland. It sounds
oh
awful.
god. I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
It's okay. That's a natural reaction. That's normal.
Oh god, it's on the oh, god.
I know. It's like eating ramen with no flavor packet. Like, why
I
would
just
you do
imagine,
that?
I just imagine she just grabs a tub of country crock and just takes like an ice cream scoop and just like,
Probably in a sweet butter sauce. Um,
oh my
so
god.
I mean, I guess it's somewhat normal because I've seen that at restaurants for kids spaghetti. You can order it with just butter on it. I was like, yeah, that doesn't appeal to me at all.
No.
Not where I'm from. So she gives me a little spaghetti sauce, and I got my garlic toast, and on top there's a sprinkling of Parmesan cheese of the grated powdered variety. Very
Yes.
classic topping for spaghetti.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Familiar
And
with this.
now this was interesting for me because I thought I remembered this getting left out on the counter overnight and being thrown away. And I'm like, where did you get this from? Did we buy a new one? I said, I'm pretty sure this got left out. And she looks at it and she's like, well, that doesn't matter because it expired in March of this year. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, expired on, well, let's see, no, May, sorry, May, as if it makes much of a difference. 5/10/18. And I said, well, I thought it tasted like extra sharp to me. Like, this tastes really gross. I say,
You just
so
had the Fermunda brand.
here's the thing that gets me though. So I say, well, do you mind like getting me another plate of spaghetti? And she's like, what? Why? She's like, you just ate that like 2 weeks ago. It must not have been that bad. And I'm like, I didn't know it was mold like 2 weeks ago. Just
It
because
doesn't make it okay that you ate it
exactly.
once.
Why are you serving this to me? Just because it's like I didn't know doesn't mean I want to eat it now.
Yeah, I agree with Callow, the chat. Did you recently up your life insurance, maybe? And she's
Maybe
trying to
that's
kill
it.
you?
She's trying to slowly poison me. What else in this place is expired? Oh,
Putting some Clorox in your coffee when you're not looking?
she was so indignant. She was like, I got you this plate of spaghetti and now I got to get you. There's not even enough spaghetti for the two of us. It's like, fine, don't give me any spaghetti then. I don't want to eat mold.
Yeah. Oh. Ah.
I don't think it was actually moldy, but I swear that stuff is like,
Remember that time I ate that
impervious.
pizza at your place and then I got food poisoning the next day?
no, I don't. I don't remember that. How
Yeah.
long ago was that? Well, if it was
It was
at my place, it
long.
must
It
have been
was
forever ago.
long time ago. Both of me and your wife got sick because we were the only ones that ate
Oh,
that particular
yes,
that
yes.
the buffalo chicken pizza.
Yeah, that probably got left out for a week as well. She's like, I don't know, it's fine to me. Pizza should never be blue. That should be your first.
It's just feta cheese now.
Ugh, gross. Gross. And those are my stories. I had one other one, but I'm not gonna take up extra time.
Dude,
with
I
that
don't
one.
know what's better. I forgot about that. I knew that she didn't like red sauce, but I forget. So that part's funny. But I don't know what's funnier, that or the part like, well, aren't you gonna eat it?
What do you mean, get you another plate? I don't want to eat mold, babe. The
I
worst.
just I hear her in my head responding to you like, what's his name in Men in Black when he's Edgar? He's like, get you another plate. When he's like, put my hands on my head
Yeah.
before he rips the skin off and turns into
More sugar, please. More. More.
once again a stupid callback that only Fluxtaposed does.
Yes.
Hey, I should have mentioned this at the top of the show, guys. We did a vote during the
Vote.
last week to pick the next Netflixation, and we have a winner. Lucas, I'm sorry to say we didn't have to. I mean, you put your disclaimer out there, but Baskin did not win.
I thought it might lure the people into watching it.
We had some good feedback about Baskin.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
they
Mike
said it was kinda gross.
shared us the True Myth Media review of Baskin, but I don't want to read the review until I see the movie.
Yeah,
I
I don't
seen-
either.
I haven't seen the movie yet.
I figured whichever one lost, I was still probably gonna watch anyway. So
It's that time of year, right? So
Exactly.
VHS 2 is our winner. We will be discussing that the first episode of November. So you got a few weeks to watch it with us and then hear us talk about it and tell you why we hated it. Maybe we'll love it. I don't know.
Do these
We'll
guys
see.
like any movies? Jeez.
We don't. We don't. But now, speaking of things we like, it's time to talk about that little segment we ripped off from a show off on Netflix. It's called The Games That Made Us. We take a popular game from our history with games, and we tell you why it was important to us and why we like it. We've
Yes.
done this, I think this is the third edition now, right?
Third. Yeah.
I had Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, and then what was my second game?
It was so
What was
memorable, you forgot it.
Yeah, I don't even remember now. What the hell was it? I don't know. It's in the show notes. Go back. It's in the show notes somewhere.
Oh gosh,
I
if
don't
somebody
remember.
else tells you, that'll be
Yeah,
hilarious.
I don't remember. So that's besides the point. Lucas, tell us, what is the next game that has defined you as the heavy metal riff,
Yes.
as Deadeye, as Testament, all these gaming
Gosh,
handles
I
you've
forgot
had
about
over the
those.
years.
Yeah, very classy and not at all taken in any other. Like nobody else could have possibly came up with those.
The best was always the LAN party. Who's daddy? It's
Daddy
Deadeye, you
die.
asshole.
Well, and I think it was the height of the new or the elite speak or
Yeah,
whatever.
oh yeah. So you had to
So
have like an
like threes
ampersand in
and
there,
yeah,
and
exactly, different colors.
an ant symbol, and yeah.
My tag that nobody understands what it's from for my clan. Uh, all those things. Well, you know, in honor of Forza Horizon 4 recently releasing, and a lot of people playing it, including myself, and enjoying it, I thought back at the days of around the Xbox generation, and I remember a specific racing game that I really wanted to get. And a friend in high school, I say friend, a person in high school who I had a class with, he was not my friend. He was a cool kid, and I was not. He was on the football team. Was telling me about this game because I was saying that I wanted to get an Xbox, but I didn't have one. And eventually, my mom said, "All right, let's go get an Xbox." And that was a trip in and of itself because you couldn't find one anywhere. I think we ended up going to Ionia, maybe, or not Ionia. Sorry, Mount Pleasant, or
I only just where I bought my GameCube. I'm pretty sure.
that could be. That could be. And we finally found one. They were so about an hour maybe out of our way to get one. Not that I was complaining, but she was like, "Well, let's go. We're already halfway there." So she was really cool. Not like now. um, so this game was Project Gotham Racing at the time. Specifically, though, I remember Project Gotham Racing 2. And for me, this was one of the first racing games that married the idea of a arcade-esque racing experience mixed with a point-based system for driving stylish, I guess. Because there were
I think I
other.
remember you telling me about this, like, because I remember I wasn't, I didn't have an Xbox. You did. I remember, I think you brought it over, and I remember playing it. But I remember, like, what's so good about Project Gotham Racing?
Yeah. Well,
So I remember.
and you know, there was like Gran Turismo and
Yeah.
some other stuff before this, but this is the
So,
one that
like,
really.
the heavy hitters right then would have been like Gran Turismo was, I'm assuming Ridge Racer was still a thing at that
Ridge
time.
Racer.
You had Project Gotham, and then what? Probably Burnout were probably your big racing games.
Yeah, I think. Well, because I think the first one came out in 2001. What I have this written down for, and then the second one that I'm talking about came out in 2003. But
Okay.
and then after that was Xbox 360. Now the reason why I know it must have been two that I am remembering in my mind is because the first one did not have Xbox Live. That came
Oh
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
second one and beyond. But I know I played the first one because that's the one that I borrowed. So I may never have owned it, but it was definitely the one that got me into the series. And in this game, they featured heavily the Ferrari brand, but they had other stuff too. Oh, Need for Speed. We're forgetting Need for Speed.
Oh
in that
yeah,
list.
yeah, we are.
And Test Drive. So there were other ones, but this one
Drive
really this one really Motor City Online. This one really kind of cemented the idea of like earning points for driving stylistically. Like you would get points for, well, they were called kudos points, and you'd get them for performing stunts, power sliding. You'd get them overtaking another driver, going on two wheels, and then of course you could chain them together and you'd get more points. And then obviously if you crashed or hit anything, you would lose those points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's obviously kind of a precursor to what you see now, but I don't think it was as popular then to have like a number that kind of was your score for how you were driving. And so the second one with Xbox Live was interesting because then you could race with other players. And there was one mode I remember specifically was called cat and mouse mode. And you drive on teams of 2 players. And one person would pick the Ferrari Enzo, I believe, which was one of the faster cars in the game and very light also. Kind of hard to control because it would like catch air anytime you go over a bump.
Oh gosh, that car is clearly named after the character in Reboot, right? It's an homage, right?
I thought maybe Assassin's Creed 2. Is it 2? Enzo?
Enzo, isn't it Enzio though?
Ezio? Oh yeah.
Ezio, yeah, there
Close
you go.
enough. And then the other person would be in a Mini Cooper, and whichever team crossed the finish line first as a team won. And so you would use the Enzo Ferrari to push the Mini Cooper because obviously they go really, really slow compared to those. And so that was a pretty fun game mode. And that was something people like made up.
People just kind of evolved gameplay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really a part of the original game. But yeah, it really opened my world, I guess, to the whole racing experience. And one of the first racing games that I took seriously. Like, I say seriously, I was still using a controller and stuff, but the only one I can ever remember really playing more than this would be Need for Speed, and you know the various like brum bum bum.
Oh gosh,
yeah, Most Wanted, I think.
Yeah, we did that. That was a LAN party game too.
Nobody's computer could run it.
not
the intro would just crawl at 6 frames per second.
Yeah. Can I tell you why I like Project Gotham Racing 2?
Yes.
Because it was the birth of Geometry Wars.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was that little mini game.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's weird to go back. It's weird to think back because I don't remember too many original Xbox games that I remember so fondly playing. Obviously, there were some. There's another one that I'll talk about again. Coming back to the Xbox. It's the I'll give you a
Counter-Strike game.
No, I'll give you. Oh God, on the Xbox, that was horrible. It's in the fighting genre. It was between that one and this one.
Dead or Alive.
Yeah, you just spoiled it. So I guess I'll be talking about Dead or Alive next time. Thanks for that.
I had to guess.
You did. You could guess silently, you jerk.
You turned the physics all the way up, didn't you?
The move physics. Hell yeah, dude. That's
now
why
now you just made it creepy.
It was creepy before. The Xbox is the only one that could have the power to do move physics.
They could render
breasts.
What are your thoughts on them like selling the Duke controller like as a piece of nostalgia now? You could buy the Duke again. That thing was god awful.
What?
Why do you want that ever again?
What was the Duke controller? Remind me.
The huge. That's what they call. That's the nickname for the original OG huge Xbox controller.
See, I remember people. See, I don't ever remember it being called the Duke or like knew of that now, but
I'm not sure when that nickname evolved for it. I know that's what it was referred to.
I never thought it was that big. I remember people. I guess people who are coming from like PlayStation would probably think it's huge, but
our dainty hands couldn't. Yeah.
Wasn't it the first? I want to say it was the first one that had the analog sticks asymmetrical from each other.
Yeah, because GameCube only had one analog stick. PlayStation have always been in line, and then it depends if you count. Well, what the Xbox came out before the GameCube, right? Or no, GameCube came out first. I can't remember. It depends because the C stick is technically, but that's not really an analog stick. So.
Yeah, that's true. It was more like a glorified D-pad, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't say it on the Wikipedia page, so I guess it's probably not. I'm sure there were other um, other ones before this that I'm just not thinking of. Probably PC controllers, I would imagine, like Gravis Ultra Pad or whatever.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So, but yeah, Project Gotham Racing. I always wondered why it was called Project Gotham. It made me think of Batman all the time, and I'm like,
Well, yeah,
there's
totally.
nothing Batman-y about this at all.
I don't. I think I did a couple races with it that you let me play it, and I never. Racing games haven't been a huge like. I'm obviously I like kart racers. You know, I played Mario Karts and Crash Team Racing, Diddy Kong Racing growing up. Wipeout was probably like I remember when I got Wipeout XL for Valentine's Day. Actually, my mom gave it to me for Valentine's Day, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember I got to go to. I got it was like one of the rare times I got to like stay home. I got to go to school late that morning, so I could play it for a little bit before class.
Nice.
And that I played that game a ton, and otherwise racing games weren't. I never gravitated too much to. I had Ridge Racer, and I played a bit of that on PlayStation. And I don't think I ever had anything else on that console, but it wasn't until Burnout. Like I really loved the Burnout
Burnout
series.
was cool.
Had a lot of fun playing Burn. You and I played Burnout a lot for a bit back in the day,
Yes, we
but
did, and that crash mode was money.
Crash Mode was fun. Now I could see though, like with Forza, well, the appeal of that is, you know, with people playing. So, um,
I forgot about Cruising
gosh,
USA. Yeah, for the
ooh,
N64.
uh, what was oh yeah, the arcade port. Playing that in the arcade was always fun. Or then what was Sega had what Daytona something
Yeah, I think it was just Daytona Racing or something like that. Yeah, the very polygonal
Virtual Racing. That's
version.
where it was
Oh,
at.
that's what I'm thinking of.
That,
Yeah.
that was hot. But you know, I think Project Gotham Racing. I think that's a really good pick for you because oh yeah, I played Outrun. Good callback.
Now we're just getting back into
Now we're just randomly now we're just reminiscing. But I think that's a really good pick for you because that's one of the things I remember you being really into or enjoying a
yeah.
lot.
Well, and
And
then
you oh what about one more racing callback? Trackmania.
oh my gosh, Trackmania was cool.
We played a lot of
We played that at
Trackmania.
LAN parties, and I was so happy because we were playing a racing game multiplayer, and I
And
was like,
you didn't even you don't even race against each other. You race against each other's ghosts.
ghosts.
I
That's why
mean,
everyone liked it because they couldn't really drive, and so it was like you can't get mad for somebody plowing into you because you're all ghosts. So
yeah. Project Gotham's a good pick, and then we saw, like you said, it was one of those first games that you know, online gameplay with consoles was in its infancy.
yep,
Xbox Live was in its infancy, and that was one of the first titles that you know started to roll that out. What was it? Halo 2 had the online multiplayer. We had Project Gotham Racing 2, um, Counter Strike. What version of Counter Strike was that? Do you remember what the?
I would
I can't remember
imagine
what the. It was based on. You know, I can't remember what the
the last time I played Counter Strike
subtitle
was
for that.
1.6,
I can't
and
remember
this
what
was
subtitle though.
CS:GO. That
Because all I
was
can think of is
Global Operations, I think, is what
oh
it
okay,
was.
Global Offensive or whatever.
Yeah, let's see, CS:GO Xbox. I'm curious to see because I don't think it was based off. Oh
Yeah, I
God,
just
don't
couldn't
go to
remember
the
what
Xbox Marketplace.
I couldn't remember what the subtitle was for it. And then what was another popular? And then of course then on PlayStation we had other games too, but I didn't have a PS2 at the time, so I won't go into that. But I think that's a good pick for you. I think that's really it
Thank
fits
you.
well with my memories of you and your taste in games. And I
Well,
think
and
it's a
that led into like the original Forza for me. Like
Forza.
I always played the original Forzas, and then Forza Horizon came out, and I was like, "What's this peasant shit? Who needs an arcade racer? I'm all about simulation now.
I can't custom tune my car. This is bullshit.
I need to be able to custom my dampeners for this for the Nürburgring."
That's right. For myself, then I'm going a little further back to the year of 1994.
Ooh.
Multi-platform release: Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. Myself, I experienced it on the Sega Genesis, so I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I was a Sega kid.
Sega.
Released in August 2nd by Shiny Entertainment.
Yes.
Earthworm Jim. Yes. Now, unfortunately, I can't tell you when I first played Earthworm Jim. I think it was actually before I owned the Sega Genesis. I think I might have actually rented it first on Super Nintendo, or it could have been on Sega Genesis because we had our local supermarket, or not even supermarket, a local grocery store. You could rent out consoles, and they give you this big black briefcase that
Yeah,
with the
I
console and
remember
all
that.
and all the connections, and you can get a game. So I would frequently rent a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis when it was available, so I could play these games. And I think that made sense back at that time because you really think about when the Super Nintendo launched and like how much lifespan the NES still had. It was a big jump for I think for families, especially in our area because we're more of a definitely a blue collar
Rural.
down rural. So I distinctly remember like being at my grandma's house and like you rent your game rentals always came in that plastic case, and I remember opening it and reading the instruction manual. Because we get
Yeah,
the manual and it had
yeah.
like the little story, the game story. It had some drawings and it talked about the Earthworm Jim and Psycho and Princess What's Her Name and all that stuff. So it had this cool story, and that's what it really drew me to this game was that appeal. So for those that might be
And the art
unfamiliar,
style too.
art style, yes. Earthworm Jim is a side-scrolling platformer noted for its humor, gameplay, and that comic cartoon style that Lucas just mentioned. Like for me, growing up, I was always drawn to non-human characters as a kid, like Ninja Turtles, Battletoads. Any superhero I liked had to have a full mask. I always liked Skeletor or Cobra Commander or Snake Eyes. Ninjas. I don't know this thing of
What
non-humanoids. I don't know
about
what it was.
Destro? Because he technically had a
Mm.
mask, but he still looked like a. Well, I don't know if you
I
call a silver head a mask, but
Destro's kind of a knob, so
yeah. Well, I
that's
never knew Destro only from his GI Joe figure, because I never
okay.
watched the cartoon. So I was like, oh, who's this
Yeah.
cool silver headed guy?
Who's Chrome Dome here? Um, so that humor and the charm, that's what really wrote me in. I always liked the mascot games. I loved, Sonic. I had a lot of fun playing one of the Bubsy games back on Sega Genesis.
Bub.
So I didn't really Vector Man, but anything they really
Oh, Vector Man was cool.
when they gave you that character and they tried to make it all about the character, those were the games I wanted to play. So that's kind of what drew me in with Earthworm Jim. They had the action figures. I got the action figure. There
Hell
was a
yeah, dude.
cartoon. I don't think I ever watched it because I think at the time I think it was on cable, and at the time I didn't have cable. I think it was on like the WB if I remember right. And Hank Azaria did the voice. Imagine that.
Oh man.
So I never watched that, but I just was very much into the character of Earthworm Jim, and I just remember playing this game, playing it and loving it. But then when I owned it myself, that was like one of the games that like when I wanted to just like sit down and play through a game to completion and have fun, it was Earthworm Jim. That was the game I'd like to play. I like the music, like remember like because you had your typical stages, then in between each stage you had you're on your rocket
Yeah,
and you had to
traveling
fly
to the
to the
next
next
world.
stage and you're racing against Psycho. And you remember that music? The little fiddle.
No, I don't. Let's see if I can find it really quick because I
Oh,
want to hear it.
it's good.
Earthworm Jim. What was it like? Bonus stage music?
Yeah, I tried bonus stage. See if that or just look up Andy. It would be Andy Asteroids. That was the name of
You
the
remember?
stage.
I
Yeah,
think I have it. Oh wait, here, but you remember it for Genesis, right? Because that's an important
yeah,
distinction. The music would sound probably
yeah,
nuts to you if you. Oh, speaking of which, classical music in Earthworm Jim 1 and 2 used by Tommy Tallarico.
yeah. He did the. I'm pretty sure he did the composition for the game.
You were just talking about how you couldn't remember some of the stuff that he did. Okay, here
It's
we
true.
go. Let's see. Make sure we don't get a. Oh, I got to press play.
Oh,
Come on, baby.
I hear nothing.
It's not working. That makes
It's
me
not
sad.
working.
Oh, I know why. Here. There we go. Is that it?
That doesn't sound like it at all.
Bonus Earthworm Jim 2 soundtrack.
Oh, that's why. I never played the second one. So I
Well,
can't.
that was a big fail.
That was a big fail. So, I mean, what I'd like to is it didn't take itself too seriously either. It had a lot of fun with the genre, like level names. It had like New Junk City,
New
What
Donk
the
City.
Heck, which was the level that was in hell, and was like one level was what actually I think level 5. I think is what it was called. I think it was just to be like to actually say the number of the stage. I can't remember specifically if that was the
Didn't
one or not, but
didn't one of the versions not have a level? Like I think I want to say it was the SNES version was
the
missing a
SNES
level.
version didn't have a level that the SNES version didn't have a level that the Genesis had, which I believe was there
It
was a
was like
level when you
level
went
6 or something.
there was one where you like went inside like you were inside a stomach, like inside an intestinal
Yeah.
distress was the level. That was well, I can't believe I remember the names of it.
Look at
Intestinal
you.
distress. You're inside all these guts and grossness and run around. It had a bungee jumping sequence. That was a level where you had to fight. Gosh, what was his name? General. I don't know. He was like a booger, and you're on like a snot bungee jump, and then you had to like rappel down and like ram them into the walls. It was just had some cool variety like that. I'm disappointed. One thing I'm disappointed though
Queen
is
slug for a butt.
they put Psychro as your nemesis, and if you don't ever lose those races, you never fight him. Like you never actually have
Yeah.
an encounter with Psychro in the first game, at least. But
Evil the cat, Princess Monkey or Professor Monkey for a head.
what was the goldfish's
Wasn't
name?
there a guy with a chair for? Oh no, that's from
That's the Tick.
the Tick. What was that? That's what I'm. This is from the cartoon, I think. The TV characters. Here we go.
Peter Puppy.
Peter Puppy, who turned into that crazy. See, I feel like that was kind of a bummer part of the game was when you had to keep the
That
dog
stage,
from
the Peter
going
Puppy
nuts.
stages. Yeah, those were not
Major
fun.
Mucus.
Yeah, that was him. Imagine
This
that.
is so
So
90s. It's crazy.
things like that, and they had like the cool voice lines like they had in the game. One of my favorite memories with Earthworm Jim though is Sega was always typical. Had like the creative credits. He had the Sega logo, and something always happened with Earthworm Jim. He walks out, flexes, and then his pants fall down, revealing his boxer shorts, and he screams and pulls up his pants. My little brother imitated this on the bus. He's like, I like Earthworm Jim, and he would do that.
Remember this,
And,
guys?
and then he's flexing, and then he pulls down all his pants
How
in the
old?
bus.
14.
He was all yeah. So he was banned from riding the bus for a little bit because of that incident.
I learned
Um,
it from a video game.
Right? It's okay, mom and dad. Just a lot of fond memories, and it was a game that I could complete. I think I could beat it on the highest difficulty. Um, it had solid gameplay. I like the fact that Jim could be removed from the suit, and then you could hobble around as the Earthworm. You have to get back into it, and the suit was like had a life of its own. Like if you weren't in it, it'd be standing there and waving towards you, and it would like point for you to get back into it. It was just had some cool humor elements again. Love that. Just I don't know. I just had a lot of fun just playing that game and replaying that game and replaying that game. And unfortunately, I didn't ever pick up the sequel. I can't say why. And then since then, so as of right now, we've had 4 games in this series. We've had Earthworm Jim, Earthworm Jim 2, Earthworm Jim 3D, and then Earthworm Jim Menace to the Galaxy, which was a Game Boy Advance or a Game Boy or a portable. It's a portable version of the game. That's if you exclude in 2010 there was an HD version released on Xbox Live Arcade,
Yeah, I
which I
remember
do
that.
own, which had multiplayer, obviously as well. And that's honestly that's like one of the reasons why I kind of still have my 360 because every once in a while I might be like, I kind of want to play Earthworm Jim, although I still have my Genesis, so I could just do that too.
The
But
OG.
the
The
OG. So
original.
it's cool that it's lived on. And then we've had Earthworm Jim 4 announced in 2008, but I think it's kind of vaporware at this point. Nothing else is done with it. Especially, I don't even know who owns the rights anymore because I don't think Shiny Entertainment. I don't even think Shiny exists anymore.
No.
And I can't. Who was the publisher? I think Interplay.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think-
Interplay or not Viacom. What's the other one? Starts with a V. It's not Verizon.
Not Verizon.
Virgin Mobile or like Virgin. I don't know.
Virgin. I can't remember. So I don't even know who owns the rights anymore. So I'd love to see the game, continue. But again, now it's like that problem. I think a lot of games that were popular at that time is what do you do with it? Because I don't think the game would be.
It was
I don't think
Interplay. Yeah.
Interplay. I don't think the game would do well as a third-person game. I think you'd have to stay. You'd have to stay 2D side-scrolling platform to really still be Earthworm Jim. And I think that could be good because I mean you could really dial up the visuals like we see with Mega Man 11. But again, it's like, okay, how are you going to? What are you going to do with the game? Because I think that linearity it doesn't quite work as well
Yeah, it doesn't
in
translate now.
2018. So it was just one of those games of my childhood that I always remember playing and replaying and having fun with, much like Sonic 3, which I almost put Sonic 3 was going to be almost my pick here, but I think Sonic's just, a little too mainstream of an option, and I wanted to go something that, maybe people aren't
Talking
not like
about.
Earthworm Jim, isn't it? But this is something that doesn't get talked about as much like, my other selections. So Earthworm Jim, great little slice of my gaming past.
It is great. I like it too. I wish I did.
You get to launch a cow. I mean, how great is that?
It can't be bad, right?
No? Groovy. He says, "Whoa, Nelly, wee doggy, and groovy all the time." What do you like,
That'd be weird if they made it now, because he would probably have to have a voice of some sort, and then everyone would get mad because they didn't like the voice actor or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was like the problem I always had with games if they got popular enough to get a cartoons like such as Earthworm Jim or like when Sam and Max did, because then you don't have the same voice actors as the characters, and it's like a bit of a turn off. But then I can go back to it now. I'm like, oh, this voice acting, it's not bad. Speaking of, that's another game that, um,
You'll have to talk about.
well, that's another game that it's sad that we'll never see that again.
Oh
Now that
yeah.
because Telltale's gone. I don't know who gets the rights to their properties. Who's gonna try to make another Sam and Max game? That's not gonna happen. The last thing
No.
they're in were the poker games. So just adventure games are done. It's just it's the world we live in. So unless you put them on Switch, then apparently give us all the
Sells
adventure games,
millions.
then you're set. So that is the games that made us. We kind of sprinkle this in. We kind of have a rotation now going on with content. We have our top 3 discussions. We have this games that made us. We have our gaming nights. We have the Netflix Asian. So we'd probably look for another one to pop up sometime in November, and we'll keep giving you more of a look behind the history of
curtain.
Lucas and myself. I feel like if I'm really going to be true to myself, I had to talk about a Smash Brothers game at some point. One of
Ooh,
those has to
yeah.
come
Yes, you
into
should.
play. So that is the games that made us this week. And now I think it's time to do a little overclock remix break.
Ooh.
If you're not familiar with this part of the show, we always like to feature one of the hot new takes from OC Remix.
It's probably going to be a Seiken Densetsu 3 song.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So for those uninitiated, OC Remix is go ahead, Lucas, spin the wheel.
I'm
We'll let you
spinning
get that out of
the
the way.
wheel. Oh God. Oh God. It's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a Seiken Densetsu 3 song.
Hey, you called it. So while Lucas is setting that
I'll
up,
take
what do
those
we got?
odds. That's number 5.
Mother of Turmoil?
Mother of Turmoil.
Mother
Yes.
of Turmoil. So as Lucas stated,
That's
our
what I
remix
say
night.
sometimes, like when I stub my toe, I'm like, Mother of Turmoil.
Mother of
Oh,
Turmoil.
my toe.
Our remix is coming from Seiken Densetsu 3. It's called Mother of Turmoil. They did just recently release a new album of remixes from that game, so that's why we have a ton of them on the front page right now. So this is again Seiken Densetsu released by Square 1995 on the Super Nintendo.
Do you have
music by Hiroki Kikuta?
Oh yeah, him.
Do I have?
Do you have any affinity towards this game at all?
I have.
Or any
I have
of
no
the
idea.
series, I guess.
have no idea what the series even is. I'm an RPG. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it came out on PlayStation, right? Is what it said. Oh gosh, Sean, my toe from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Boom, 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 boom. I have no idea.
I just remember our friend Tom saying that it was like his favorite, and everyone's like, "Shut up, Tom! Nobody knows what you're talking about. The hell's this Seiken Densetsu Setsu crap? Go back to Japan, loser." Little did we know that he wasn't the one that was going to be
right?
into the Japanese culture.
Can we just have a brief aside and talk about how we had a friend that wasn't allowed to play StarCraft Brood War because Kerrigan looked demonic on the cover, so his parents said that's anti-Christian. It's anti-Christian. They can't.
It is.
Can't play that game, Marshall.
It's true, and we were just like, we're giving him crap about it, and he was like, I just do what my parents told me. Poor guy.
Yep. Now he lives out in the West Coast and makes a shit ton of money working for Boeing. So
That's because he left here. All you got to do
yeah,
is move from Michigan and you'll make money. People give you money.
that's right.
I'm ready.
All
I'm
right, you
ready.
ready? Well, all right. So this is remix it's from ocremix.org. You can find a ton of other remixes there. Check it out, and we're gonna play it. We're gonna leave you briefly. We'll be back to do more Fluxtaposed. You're not gonna want to miss what you plan. You won't believe what happens next. So Lucas is gonna play that remix, and we'll be right back, guys. So jam out, go, take care of your
Jam
business,
out
get
with
a
your
drink.
ham out.
Yeah, do it all. Do it all. Okay, do it. Just start me up, please.
Ooh. I
You keep giving them the free peeks behind the curtain at me dancing.
Well, you give them
Now
the free peeks, and then they
I'm
pay for the good stuff.
now I'm self-conscious.
Now, wow,
Now.
wow.
Hopefully there's some more remixes that come in because otherwise I don't like to feature the same song over and over. I mean the same series. So unfortunately there's
No.
gonna be a lot of those up there for a while. Try to,
Yes.
you know. Ugh. But hey, that's all right. Lucas, you ready to do a little what you playing, my friend?
This is for Sean Capri.
My toe indeed. Hey, I just want to give a great thank to everyone who is subscribed to the Twitch channel, or excuse me, it's followed us on Twitch because we're at 38 out of 50, closing in on that goal. So I appreciate you, and tell your friends to do the same, because then we can hit that 50, and they'll be like, "Woo, we did it!
Get those
Yeah!"
fitties.
I'll be as excited as Aubrey Plaza on an episode of Parks and Rec. Yay! Did it?
Yeah, that was her character in a nutshell, basically. That was spot on.
Lucas, what you been doing, man?
Oh, just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I want to talk about some things I've been reading.
Ooh.
Boring. No.
You've been reading books?
No.
Like,
books with pictures, yeah. Comic books, thanks to the
okay, now you have my attention.
My interest has been piqued.
My interest and my erection.
Oh.
No.
Mouse. Mouse is what I've been reading. Is that how you pronounce it? Mouse.
Yeah, this is like on all of the like. You need to read these graphic novels.
Well, it won some prizes for some I don't know, awards.
I mean, I'm pretty sure BuzzFeed is always like, you need to, if it's on a BuzzFeed list, it's got to be good, right?
10 things you haven't read that make you a horrible person. BuzzFeed article.
This checks out. That checks out.
So Mouse is basically it's an allegory for it is about the actual Holocaust, but instead of humans, they've been replaced with mice. However, it doesn't really make much of a difference. It's basically, I mean, you might as well just picture them as humans because nothing else really is mice. You know what I mean? Like they live in a normal world where everything's normal sized and everything. It's not like what's that one that you were reading? I think the guards fall or something.
Oh, Mouse Guard.
Mouse Guard. Yeah, it's not like that where there's a
much more fantasy.
Yeah,
in that story.
Exactly. This is a black and white comic, so there's like no color or anything, but it is a really excellent read, and more than just being about the Holocaust, it's actually about the author's relationship with his dad, and some of it even goes into his process of writing this and some of the discussions he had with his father when trying to get him to tell him more of his, like, how he survived the Holocaust and stuff like that. And he has a little bit of a struggle, for instance, with the way that he portrays his father, because it was written in 2 parts, I believe. And after he wrote the first part, he kind of felt bad, I think, because his dad comes off as kind of a stereotypical miserly Jewish figure, which he's like, is kind of unfortunate because it's sort of true. But in that, I mean, it's true in the sense that that's how his character is written and portrayed by his son. But I think it reflects his experience in the Holocaust and what it really did to his psyche as a human being, his father. So it's more than just, Schindler's List, but mice, I guess.
Okay.
Because it goes back to the regular present day, I guess. I say present day, and I think this was written in 1980 something. So, it's interesting because if I hadn't have seen that or known that, I wouldn't have been able to guess when this was written at all.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Because there's no, except for a tape recorder.
It's a timeless classic, is what you're telling me.
It is, because except for a tape recorder and the fact that nobody has a cell phone, you wouldn't really be able to date it whatsoever. It's really good, though. It almost made me tear up a little bit. So I would definitely highly recommend it. It is not your typical comic book fare again, but I think it's very important. I thought it was very interesting. It's not just like it's not
What
just
about Lilith Fair?
what about I don't know
You
what you're
said
talking
comic
about.
book fair. You said comic book fair, so I just brought up
What
another
about
fair.
Scarborough Fair? You should have said Scarborough. I would have at least known what you were talking about. Because I don't know anything. Yeah, it's just. Oh, I was just gonna say it's important not just because it's about the Holocaust, but also because it's good. You know, it's a really good, well written comic book. So, graphic novel, I should say. Speaking of well written graphic novels, I have been reading this on the side. Now I've been using my phone to read this all the way through.
You got a side book?
I got a side book, and I've been reading this like I'll take a bath and I'll read a comic book or a graphic novel, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm a bath guy. I take baths. What do you want?
Ugh.
I'm a clean man. I'm an oil man. And I get clean in the bath and I relax, and then I get out and I go lay in bed and I read another graphic novel on my phone. So I just go back to back. And that graphic novel is called Saga, and we've talked a little bit about this briefly before. But the reason why I bring it up now is because I am all caught up as far as the trade paperbacks go. I've read all the way up to volume 9, which was just recently released.
That's a lot of issues of Saga.
It is. And like I said, anybody looking to read it should get the first 2. They're like ultimate editions or something like that, which combine like episodes 1, or not volumes, but the actual series or the issues. That's the word I was looking for. Issues 1 through 26 or something, and then the next one's up until almost 40 issues basically between the 2 books. So that was a really good way to do it, because if you're being like on this app that I use, you can only have 9 things out every month. And so if
is that Hoopla?
Yeah, so if you're getting volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, that's all of them right there. So this is just really good. Like, I don't even know how to describe why it's so good, but I think part of it is because the characters are written so believably, and the interplay between the family and the characters that kind of end up together and what they're all fighting for or running from, I guess.
Yeah.
It's all very compelling, I find. There's a lot of things that happen that kind of remind me of Game of Thrones. Like, there are things that happen that they're not afraid to not let anyone be safe, basically. And then there's fantastic elements that remind me sometimes of Star Wars, because it does take place in other worlds. And on the surface, it's about a planet and its native species, which have feathers but otherwise look fairly humanoid.
Okay.
And a moon that orbits the planet that they are more like satyrs or goat people, and they have horns, and they've always hated each other, and they were wrecking each other's worlds by waging war, and eventually they came to an agreement that they would only fight in other planets. So they started to get other planets involved and the people from those planets. So it's not just these 2. There's interplanetary travel and space travel, and you go see different places, and there's some pretty effed up things in the book too. I don't want to ruin them, but there's some things where you're just like, that's weird, but it's all presented
more
so
the adult
naturally.
content side of things.
Definitely.
Too,
there's a penis in this book. Because it's one thing to say that there's boobs in a book, because nowadays it's just like, okay, whatever, every book has boobs practically. But when they're not ashamed to show a penis, then you know it's like getting real. So,
well, now I know I got to read this.
Yeah,
next.
you do, or at least look at it. You're like, what exactly? Do you remember what volume the penis was shown in? Perhaps which frame?
Well, would you say I have volume 1 of Saga. I've had it since probably 2 or 3 years now, and it's still sitting on
Damn.
the shelf over here that I haven't cracked the page on it yet.
I think if you had cracked it, you would have read it already.
So should that be my next one?
You
Because
need to.
I've got volume 2 of Lumberjanes I haven't read yet, and then that's the only thing I got from the library. I mean, it'll take me what to read one volume of a trade. It takes like 15 minutes. I feel like
Yeah,
sometimes.
depending on how many issues are in it, but I think it's 6 probably. I'd say you could probably read it, and
It's when you get into the omnibuses and compendiums. That's when you
yeah,
got problems.
yeah. I think you could read it fairly quickly, and then you're gonna want to read more, and then you're just gonna do the Hoopla
Yeah,
app
probably.
because
That's why I honestly that's one of the reasons I got the Kindle Fire when I did, because you get the bigger screen and it's just nicer for that sort of thing.
yeah, I would like. I wish I was using a tablet instead of my phone, but it works, especially if you do the not the full page but frame by frame, because then you don't even have to
Yeah.
worry about how to read it. You just keep swiping.
Yeah, that's nice too. The frame by frame stuff is actually kind of a cool feature. I do like that.
Yeah. So, but Saga, man, you definitely got to read it. It's great. I would tell you, read your first volume. You won't regret it. I can't because I read it in not the volume one, but in that bigger thing. I don't remember where volume one ends, so I don't know if it'll have enough hook to pull you in. But I think by the second volume, you'll definitely be hooked in because there's story stuff that makes you want to know more about what's happening. So yeah, definitely give it a shot when you're ready
See, this is
to.
the way this is the way to do comics, not when we were getting single issues all the time. I
Yes,
mean,
it's binge. It's like binge watching for comics. That's how you do it. Um, so those are the things that I kind of been reading. I watched a few things as well, and I'll
ooh,
try to quickly go over them. Baron Munchausen. Now, you're gonna be like, "What the? What are you talking about? You
I gotta
crazy? Is
Google.
this one of your dumb art films? Sort of. It's a Terry Gilliam film, much like
Oh yeah,
I talked about the other one that I was disappointed in, Jabberwocky,
I've wanted to watch this. I think because I've had it in my queue for a bit.
because it's streaming, right? I believe.
It was. I don't know if it still is or not.
Okay. It if you like Terry Gilliam, this was a much better representation than his first film. And to be fair, Jabberwocky was his first film, so this was nothing like this. This was filmed in 1989, I think, or released in 1989,
Yeah.
and it definitely shows. I watched it on Blu-ray, and it looked surprisingly good. Like I was surprised at how well a lot of the effects held up, and it is a fantastical story about this Baron Munchausen who a story is being told about him and his life, and he happens to roll into town and find out there's a play about him, and he goes to the playhouse and basically says, no, this is all BS, this is how it really happened, and he starts telling a story, and it gets more and more fantastical as it goes along, and there's some really awesome imagery. It's pretty funny as well at points, and it goes all over the place. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if you're looking for a fantasy movie, it takes a little while to get going into the fantasy area, but once it does, it's quite a delightful movie, and I think it's probably one of my favorite Terry Gilliam movies. I haven't seen a
Oh
lot of
wow.
them, but
Better than the Fisher
Fisher
King?
King, because Fisher King doesn't have a lot of fantasy elements just
No.
in his psyche, I guess. But
Is that Robin Williams?
yes, he plays the
Is
Moon
that
King.
floating? Okay, that floating disc head thing.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I didn't know he was in it, so I was very surprised to find out that he was in it. So Baron Munchausen, it was surprisingly good, and I had left this movie and the next movie I'm about to talk about. It was just sitting on my shelf for a long time because after I watched Jabberwocky, I was just like, oh, I don't feel like watching another letdown of a movie. But I'm glad I did because it was good.
Awesome.
And then the other movie I had from Netflix DVD was Upgrade because I missed that in theaters, and I had
Oh,
seen.
that's the one that RoboCop should have been, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah. It was an action film that was getting good scores on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, and it's about a guy who gets a chip implanted in his body that basically overcomes his
Venom kind of steals some fighting sequences from this whole setup.
yeah, I
in
would
a way.
imagine. I would imagine because it acts very much like a symbiote.
Yeah. Baron Munchausen is no longer streaming.
Ah,
But
boo. All right. Well, that means nobody will watch it. Um, it acts very much like a Jarvis or anything like that, but instead of being a suit, it is his body. And the story was interesting. I don't think it was very surprising to see what happened at the end. I won't spoil it, but I think most people will have guessed kind of what happened or why it happened, why the things are happening the way that they are. I don't think too many people will see the twist of the other thing that happens in the movie and being vague on purpose. So there's two things. One that's not really that big of a twist that is the causality of all of this. And then the other thing, which is a little bit more character driven and speaks to like the final ending as to like what happens next, I guess. Like where he goes
gotcha.
from having this upgrade, so to speak. What was interesting was the fight sequences. Now, I liked them because they used this camera where it must have been on like a remote controlled I don't know, like unit that rotates the whole camera, like it twists it rotationally. So instead of saying like it's panning left and right, it's actually just moving the frame left and right. You know what I'm saying? Like rotating
Yeah.
90 degrees or whatever. So it's following. If he leans back to dodge a punch or perhaps even a wrench, it will twist with him, and it almost looks like the camera is following him instead of staying static and just showing the whole fight sequence as you would normally expect it. It works really well to kind of put you in the action and actually kind of makes it a little bit more easy to follow because there's not so much motion blur because the camera is moving with the motion. So you can kind of read it a little bit better. It doesn't get as blurred and messed up. The only problem is they use it a lot, like in every fight scene. So it kind of, once you get over the initial impact of how it looks, you're just kind of like, okay, I get it. Like,
You got this. I'm assuming on discs from.
yeah, because it's not streaming. It just came out at the
Yeah.
beginning of October, I
Are
believe.
you gonna watch Hardcore Henry?
Eventually, yeah. I'll be interested to see how that compares to this. Because I mean, they are very similar, but this is not first
Just
person.
describing some of the action sequences just maybe made that pop into my head again.
Yeah,
For one reason.
and this is more visceral than I was expecting. There was definitely some, I don't want to say gore, but there were some bloodier moments that you're just like, okay, that dude's definitely dead.
Right.
That type
Right.
of thing. But yeah, it was a decent movie. I was just a little upset, like, oh, that was where the ending was going. Okay, that wasn't really surprising, but whatever. Like, I hate to be that guy to be like, oh, I saw that coming, but I think here it was a little hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Just based on the setup. So, if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think. But I would still recommend it as an action movie. It wasn't horrible. It was good.
Yeah.
As an action movie. So, lastly, the last thing I want to talk about is Norseman. And this is a series on Netflix, and it's a Netflix original. And I had never heard of this before.
I think this is in my queue. I think, or no, it's not in my queue. I think I've seen it pop up.
Yes, it gets pimped out heavily because it's a Netflix original. So they have a, it comes up in the like Netflix originals, like super bar where it shows you more. You know how like Netflix originals will look better because they have way more stuff on the screen?
Yeah.
That type of thing. So I watched the little preview video that automatically runs, and I found it to be quite funny. So I was like, all right, let's give this a try, because what it is a Viking comedy. And I would not expect that to be like anybody to take that story and run with it, but it's a very dry British sense of humor. So a lot of like straight-faced comedy and everything, but it was working for me. I chuckled quite a few times watching it. It starts off with the Vikings returning from a pillage mission that they went and raided, and they have a couple of people that they've taken as prisoner, and they plan to make into slaves. And one of them is I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be French. I couldn't really tell, but I think he is a French guy. And for instance, he's complaining that the flow of information has been terrible because since they've been aboard, they haven't been offered a drink of water and they're almost to their destination. And so he's just sitting here complaining about all these like first world problems that you would expect as he's forgetting the fact that he's a slave now, but assuming he should be treated as an equal, I suppose. And I mean, there's some other things going on. For instance, the chieftain's brother secretly wants to become chieftain, and so he kind of always hopes his brother never comes back from raids. And the chieftain's son doesn't really have anything to his name, so he's kind of worried that he's kind of looked down as not being very strong because he doesn't have a wife or any land to speak of or anything like that. So
What's the production value?
it's pretty high. Like the costumes and everything are good. And I think it's filmed in I don't know, what would you say, Sweden probably, or the Netherlands anyway. Cuz it definitely looks the part from that perspective too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the costumes look great. The area, like the houses and everything look really good. They look like they have a budget. And Netflix was like, here you go. And the set design looks pretty good too, because they encounter some other. I've only watched up this episode 2, but they encounter some other, like, what do you call it when people? Nomads.
Adding it to my list.
Nomads, maybe.
Adding it to my list.
It's funny though, so you gotta come in thinking I'm watching a comedy.
Well,
and
yeah.
not watching
Well,
a Viking.
I was watching. I watched Vikings on History for
Yeah.
quite a while, and then I got behind, and now I'm like, I had no way to catch up, and now I can Hulu, and if I want to, but so I'm familiar with, you know, I can get into that mindset, but yeah,
Well,
now I had to be like, okay, this is satire.
supposed to be
you know,
fun. Yes, yes, and again, it
So-
is very dry, so it might not be everybody's cup of tea. But for me, it was. Also, there's some very inappropriate stuff, so do not watch this around loved ones that would be faint of heart, and don't watch
so
it around your child.
So Jason show. Yeah.
Yes, so you'll never watch it.
So I'll
'cause you
never
don't-
watch it.
Yeah, exactly. So, gotta get Netflix for Switch, man. I don't understand why they don't have that yet, but they really need it. Because I don't have enough devices that run Netflix.
No, I don't
that's
have
for sure.
15 devices already that I can stream it on. So
So yeah, Norseman, Netflix original, really good stuff. And even though I'm only up to episode 2, my question was, is there a story to this, or is it just going to be like a bunch of gags that aren't really related? Like, is it going to be
yeah.
just one? Is there going to be a continuing story? And it looks like there is, based on what happened in episode 2. So I'm kind of curious to see how good of a story it is, and not just how funny it can be. So
Okay.
I'll see. I plan on watching more of it. So
Well,
yeah.
I had a recommendation from you last week. I got two
Two.
this week.
You gotta catch up.
Yeah. Don't let me down yet.
What did I recommend last week? Oh, Level Up. Yeah, and you're gonna talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yep.
Do it now. And you're
Do it
also gonna
now.
talk about 2 other things that I also.
Two other things that you also did. So, Level Up was the graphic novel that Lucas recommended last week.
I'm
Tells the
curious to
story
see what you
of
think.
a character struggles to go to give up video games and apply himself in medical school to become a gastroenterologist. At first I wasn't sure what to make of it because there are these fantasy elements that are in there, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what
so all of a
the
sudden.
f is going on? But once you put that down and you just look at it from the story about this son coming to terms with his father. Well, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say spoilers. Spoilers if you don't want if you want to read Level Up, if you want to read Level Up, coming from the death of his father and then living up to these expectations and putting in, which we see I think in the Asian culture where expectations are put upon the children and they need to go down a path regardless if it's the one they want or not. But there's
Yeah.
pressures to honor the family and do and to make your parents proud and to do what they want. So you see this character struggle with this path that he doesn't really want, and he wants something different in life, but then you see him grow and develop and change and kind of come full circle on that. So I'll admit it, like halfway through it, I was kind of like, man, I'm just not feeling this.
Mhm.
But then as the story kind of played out, and I was like, okay,
You're
it was a
back in
lot.
it.
I'm back in it. So
Well, and what
I
I
don't.
found was interesting was like it came full circle and then kind of came back again. Like there was, he
Yeah,
gets what he wants, but he's still not happy, which I thought was
right.
interesting. Normally, it's like, no, you should
Yeah,
just do what
and
you
I like
want.
how they showcase that with him like losing lives and then
Yeah,
game over and then
what
continuing
level he's
and then
on.
starting again. Yeah, and starting over again. So I think that was a cool little nod to gaming and how they incorporate that. I don't want to talk too much about it because you already gave I think a really good discussion on that last week,
Yeah.
but I did read it.
Well, what did you think about like the reasoning behind his father? Because he like confused his
Dude,
father's.
that was yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
spoil. Let's just say it. Spoiler alert for anybody who wants to read this again, because you already had one. Spoiler alert. But basically, what happened, if you're not going to read it, is his dad promised his
all his
grandfather.
dying family members that
Yes, they all died of liver disease, and that he would one day become a
a doctor
doctor
and
and
cure
cure
find
it.
a cure
And he ended up dying of the same thing and never cured it. So he
and
was,
never became a doctor either.
yep, and because he couldn't understand. Excuse me. Oh, and when I find issue,
English wasn't his first language,
yeah,
so he
and
could.
so that's like a problem I never even considered. But trying to
Hmm.
become
He
a
was what
doctor,
an
engineer.
engineer, right?
I'm an engineer. Yeah. So I was just curious. Yeah, because like there
Yeah,
were levels that I didn't know it was working up to
right.
level
The
up
fact that they weren't angels, they were the ghosts of his father's past, that his broken promises,
to
and
his
it's just like,
family. Yeah,
oh
it
God,
got really good. I was just like,
yeah.
just got real. It's not about video games anymore. So
And
yeah,
then we both read this next novel called Nimona, which was written by Noelle Stevenson. It used to be a web comic, I believe,
yes,
that was published on her site, and then the whole comic got published in this book. Tells the story of do I want to say she's not an apprentice? She's like a sidekick to a supervillain.
yeah.
To
She like the first episode's about her becoming the sidekick.
to the supervillain as he's trying to get revenge against what were they called, the institution,
Yep, yep,
and his nemesis Golden Loin.
yep.
And I love what I first of all like. What I love about this book is I love the art, and I forgot this, but Noelle Stevenson also writes Lumberjanes, which I've been reading.
Oh,
Writes and illustrates that, so there's that connection there too. And she's also involved with the She-Ra reboot that's coming to Netflix.
oh wow,
So
that's cool.
there's your education as her as a writer. Um, what I like that we see about this, it's medieval in nature, but it's like set in modern day medieval times. So
Yeah,
like they're just like laser weaponry and technology and computers and stuff, but they still use swords and shield and armor,
and armor. Yeah,
and it's very feudal. There's still a king and there's all this stuff. So I like that with the setting. And it was just cool, a really unique story. So Nemona's the shapeshifter, and we see how that comes to play with this quest. And then there's a romantic twist that you don't see coming till halfway through the book,
yeah.
which I found really refreshing as well. And I thought that was a really unique
I
spin.
I had an inkling towards
Yeah,
that
you
just
have a
because of the way they
suspicion.
were, and then you're
Yeah,
like,
but
oh, okay.
yeah, and so it was. It's a good read. I mean, I really enjoyed the book. When it was all said and done, like some of the story, might be a little, played out and repetitive, but I still like what happened. I still enjoyed the journey,
Yeah,
and they did a couple things. She had a couple things in there that weren't cliche, weren't just off the norm. So that
yeah.
made it it won it's won itself back for me. And plus, we don't it has kind of an open ending as well. You have the main story is kind of wrapped up, but then we don't know what else is going on.
Right. Yeah, we
What
don't.
there's more journeys to come. Could be potentially, and I
Hmm.
like that happened. So
I
I
had a
really
sa-
enjoyed the book.
I had the same experience you did with Level Up with this one, where it didn't really catch me until about halfway through, and then I was like,
Yeah.
which is where I was when we talked about it the
Well,
last
yeah,
time.
it's like we talked about it at first when you're reading it. Is this just like some loosely connected stories, or is this this
It feels like a
longer
web comic
overarching story?
almost.
Yeah, and then finally, I think like once you get into a little bit more, because it just broken up into chapters. Once you get a little deeper, then it feels like okay, there's a narrative going here, and now that story makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that to anyone that wants a cool kind of I don't want to say lighthearted, but I mean, because for a while, like Namona's like a is a psycho in terms of a murder. She's a psychopath. She like
Yeah.
she kills everyone. So
The bad guy has to
it's
keep her from like just
yeah,
being crazy half the time. She's
murder
just like, why
fest.
don't you
So
just kill everybody? Because
yeah.
that's not the bad guy way.
So I think we could both recommend that. And so that was my journey on with graphic novels. I do. I'll probably jump into Saga next. Lumberjanes Volume 2. It's all the rage on Netflix. And when, for whatever reason, we because while we were gone on my trip, we watched some Netflix. You know, we're watching random things like Man in the High Castle. Season
Yep.
3 is out, so we started watching that. And that show is so it's so hard to watch sometimes because it's such a thinking show and it's so hard to follow everything that's going on. So it's very sometimes it's hard to watch that one. But we had started that. Um, my wife, we'd always had wanted to watch like the on Netflix has the reboot of the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. It's on there. I really
Hmm.
enjoy watching that show. Um, so we had to jump around that, but then so first while we're on the trip, we were like, okay, Netflix original. I think the premise looks cool. It's got that guy from Westworld, Hold the Dark, and man, I it's the director of that did Blue Ruin and
Oh,
is it did Green Room? That was his too, right?
yeah, I think so.
So these very visceral, violent, you know, movies. And the quick premise of this is this mother in Alaska contacts this naturalist who studies wolves and has done this thing. Her son is taken and believed to be murdered by wolves, so she wants him to come and hunt down the wolves that did it and kill them because nobody else in the town will do it. It's kind of they live in like the middle of nowhere, Alaska. Inuit population, very superstitious as well. So he comes there to do that, but then there's a lot more going on here than just that scenario, and he kind of unravels this mystery and what's
Hmm.
going on. Very violent in some cases, very um, in your face with that violence in terms of the deaths. And at the end of the movie, my wife and I were both like, "I what?" You just didn't get what the message was. And you do get to see like the hero's path kind of takes place with our main character, but there's another story going on here, particularly with the wife and her husband who's away in the Iraq War. So it takes place in like the early 2000s.
Okay.
Very, very weird, very interesting, very like I'm not sure what to make of
Are
this
you
type of
trying to
thing.
say
So
this is a Lucas movie? It sounds
it
like a
it
Lucas
very
movie.
yeah, it very much is a Lucas movie.
I'll
So
have to watch it.
yeah, it's a little bit. I think it was like clocked in like 2 hours and 20 minutes, a little bit longer watch
Whew.
than your
That's
typical
yeah.
Netflix one. So be prepared for that. So we watched that on the trip, and then we got back here. It's like everyone keeps talking about this. Calla was talking about it, other people were, and finally, like, okay, it looks like something we'd like to watch. But at first, I was like, kind of looks like it's just going to be like another, American Horror Story, and I wasn't too big. I'm not too big on American Horror Story, and that is The Haunting of Hill House on
Around the
Netflix.
world,
And
fighting for
boy,
what we
were we
believe
wrong
in
because we
is
got into it. We
truth.
started watching it and we just got into it. Just really, really enjoy it. 10 episodes. We're on episode 9. We'll finish it tomorrow. We would finish it tonight if we weren't recording this podcast. So,
Yeah.
really enjoy it. It's got some good actors. The guy that plays, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher his name, but who is Daenerys's like right hand man in Game of Thrones, Denarius or Denario,
Daenerys.
whatever.
Oh.
I can't think of his actual name, but that guy plays a character. The female lead from Hush, she plays a character.
Yeah. I
Um,
forgot about that. I didn't even know about the. I thought that guy
the
looked familiar.
the actor who played Elliot in ET plays a
Elliot.
character. So
The what's weird for me is the husband or the father, at least the young version of the father, and the young version of the mom are they both played in Gerald's Game. They were in that movie,
oh
but
yeah.
he was their relationship that those two characters have. He was the molesting father of the childhood her. So
Oh
it's like to think
gosh.
about that is I'm just like that's kind of weird.
What's up, Trent 29? Welcome to the show. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So it's loosely, I think, based on the novel. And much like you might remember, I mean, we have what is it? The Haunting is related to that too. We have the original movie, and then There's
Is that
the
it is
the one
based
with
on that?
Catherine Zeta-Jones. It loosely,
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the original novel, but loosely based on that, this family they flip houses. There's two stories, and it jumps back and forth between times and stories, like as this unwinds. But there's the main story of the event that actually happens that leads up to them leaving the house, which is in the '80s or early '90s, and because it's haunted. Okay, there's paranormal things going on to leave the family, and then all the fallout that happens and how damaged these children are as adults from that experience, the broken relationships between themselves and other people, and so you explore and you discover like what happened with the hauntings, and then how what things are happening in present day. So it kind of jumps back between the stories of when they were the kids, and then like a 3 month time span
How
of
far are you
present day. We're in episode 9,
out of?
10.
Oh, okay. So you're
So
on the cusp.
I don't know if there'll be another story after that, like another season, or if it's going to be a self-contained one and done. But it's really good, and there was a jump scare that happened last night. Haven't seen my wife react like that to any in a show or movie we watched. Totally got us both really good. All of a sudden we're watching, she's like, Jesus Christ, and like it was
Nice.
it was it was so good. So I can't recommend enough. It's been like perfect for this time of year. It's just got a little bit of creepiness, and just like the character development is really good, I think. So
I've only
I
watched one episode, so I haven't. I don't have. I mean, it's not bad or anything. Although
yeah.
Callow said that it had the yellow filter on, and yes, it does. It has some
Yeah,
sort
it
of
does.
filter because
Yeah.
it is very odd looking. But
Yeah.
other than that, I
Yeah.
I'm reserving judgment, but I thought it was okay so far.
Yeah.
I
I
found the
think it
author
really
guy to be most interesting, probably.
yeah, and the story kind of ramps up. I think it's episode 3, and from 3 on I
I
think
still
is
need
when
to
it
watch
really starts to
Castle Rock
develop.
too,
Yeah, you gotta finish that too. So
or
that was
start
that,
it.
and lastly, while we were on vacation, we're like, "Hey, let's go to a movie." And I was surprised that you said you hadn't heard of this. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
First Man came out, and it's the story of. Oh, I shouldn't say the story of, but it profiles a bit Neil Armstrong and the whole space race
Oh,
and space exploration of the
now it
'60s,
makes sense.
with us landing on the moon. Stars Ryan Gosling, and phenomenal job as him in the role. Has a really good cast. I mean, it's like it's a great movie. And it's always fun like going to a theater like in a different city that you're not familiar with to see what it's like. This was an AMC theater.
Yeah.
So they have their own subscription service now too, where you pay so much a month and you can see X number of
Yep.
films and get
Yep.
all these other perks. And they serve alcohol. They have a lot of food options. Here's another trend I didn't like though. There was about 30 minutes of trailers.
Ooh.
It was just I think we saw at least 10 movie trailers before this thing, and it was just like to the point where I was just like exhausted of trailers. I
Did
didn't want to see anything else.
did they start them early, or was it? Did they start them
The
right on the showtime?
the showtime started at 1:30, and the movie didn't start till after 2.
Wow. Wow.
Between the promo commercial crap and then trailers.
There's
It
still
was just
time to go to the
a bit
concessions.
monotonous, but so much about this I don't think you realize about with like the NASA and that space exploration is how many astronauts are involved, how all the different missions are spread out, how why they may not be the ones actually doing the mission, they're involved with all the other aspects of helping set it up and support. Plus, like all the figures that are, to use the term, that were shown in Hidden Figures, the whole team of women and minorities that are helped do the math and help support NASA. But this is focused on Neil Armstrong and just like his family. I think the main theme that happens with him is loss and sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
and just to see how that plays upon him as a person, but what it does to his family, his relationships, his interactions. It's pretty phenomenal, and it's just like I forget like how much as a kid, and even now, like space exploration is such a cool concept. And just to think that like as humans we built an object out of metal and bolts and plastics that
Space age polymer.
carried people into space and brought them back. Even at that, it's in like what 1969. I mean,
Yeah.
that's mind
And then
blowing to
we
me
were
that we
like,
were going into space.
we don't need to do
Yeah,
that
and
no
we're like,
more.
oh, we don't need to go that anymore. Now we're just like, oh, we sent a robot to do it
We
all
just
now.
wanted to
Whatever.
beat Russia. It's just like, okay, we beat Russia. We don't need to go there
Yeah,
anymore. We
it's
just
just it
wanted to
just
get there first so we could pee all over it.
right, just crazy, It's just so it's much. I think if you like Apollo 13,
I
you're
was
gonna
just
like
gonna
this
ask
movie.
you,
You
First
know,
Man or Apollo 13? was there
um,
um was there a Aerosmith song anywhere in
there
this?
was no Aerosmith song. I'm
Damn.
sorry.
Did they put any explosives onto an asteroid
No,
or a comet?
there might have been a lens flare too, though. Does that redeem it at all for?
It does. It does.
So
I'll take.
I've
That's how you
heard
know it's sci-fi, is if there's a lens flare.
right, but it was great, really great movie. So
Cool.
that does it. That wraps it up from the
Whew.
nice package for me. And we do have community grab bag to get to before we wrap
Our
things up
favorite.
tonight.
We're gonna have to start paying this guy.
Man in the street, Dan Anthony, he writes in and asks, Fluxtaposed, this begs the question. If you had an unlimited budget, what would your baby's gender reveal party consist of? And he links a tweet from WESH2
Wesh.
News, Wesh, and it says, gender
Terrible.
reveal party ends in a fight outside of Applebee's, police say. I'm pulling up the news article right now.
Where did it start then? That's the real question.
A gender reveal party at Applebee's ended in police breaking up a fight outside of the restaurant. Police were dispatched to the chain's Boardman, Ohio location after a fight between guests and restaurant staff
Oh shit.
escalated outside over who would clean up the mess.
Guys,
Ma-
guys, not in front of the Applebee's. This is hallowed ground, okay?
Right? A
Take it to
manager
the
at the
parking
chain's
lot.
location said guests intended to reveal the gender of the baby by using confetti poppers inside the restaurant. She asked the party of about 20 to do the reveal outside so it would not disturb other patrons. I think that's kind of an acceptable request since Applebee's doesn't have like a banquet. To my knowledge, Applebee's doesn't have a banquet
Oh
area, so
yeah, I
you don't
didn't
have
even
your own
think about
private
that.
space. So you have 20 people
Can you go litter
doing
outside?
that. Right. After the reveal, blue confetti littered the sidewalk and nearby
Yeah.
vehicles. So then the manager asked them to clean it up. Some of the attendees began yelling at the manager and other employees. Police said 2 members of the group threw menus. They threw menus at a hostess
No.
who was hit several times
times.
by the barrage.
Was there a headshot? That's what I need to know.
Some of the group
The
dispersed
barrage.
after the manager called police. The manager also found that a bill for $31.81 had not been paid. In a statement,
Jeez.
the company that operates the chain said the safety of our guests and team members is our top priority. This is an unfortunate incident, and we are looking into what happened to determine the next steps.
I think they know what happened. They're slobs and they don't want to pick up after themselves.
Dan,
Who just thinks they can litter inside of an establishment that's not theirs? Like, hey,
lot
is it
of
okay if
people-
we just set off 20 confetti poppers? God, could you imagine? Ugh, having to clean that up, and it's that type of confetti that like will stick to the short pile carpet that they have there, and it'll never vacuum. It'll just stick to the floor, so you got to pick it up by hand. A nightmare.
Dan, if money was no object, I would start off on a stage in Las Vegas, and then David Copperfield is going to make myself and Jessica disappear.
Ooh.
We vanish from sight. We reappear like across the plaza on the other side of Vegas because that's how it always works. And we're standing with Bill Nye, and then he has a bunch of Bunsen beakers that erupt in the color of
One's pink and one's blue.
of the they erupt in the color of the gender.
Well, I
much
think-
like when you combine Mentos with Coke, it's going to be that type of corruption.
Nice. I think that it's a little too. I mean, I don't want to inhibit my child to pink or blue. I really think that's
You're one of those hippie guys, huh?
hippy dippy. So I mean, I don't want to. I guess if I had to do it, I would just. Gosh, I don't know. I've never really had to consider a gender reveal.
We're all having fun
party.
here. It's just hypothetical.
What if let's just continue with the space theme, and we'll go up into space. Not one of the where you lose gravity. Oh no, we're gonna go up to space, and we're gonna land on the moon. And
No.
before we got there,
SpaceX, huh?
yeah, before we arrived, we're going to have somebody put a giant sign into the ground and then cover it up with moon dust. And then when it's time for the big reveal, we'll have everyone use confetti poppers to blow all the dust away, and it will reveal the. It will be written. It won't be a color because I am not forcing my child to conform to your standards of what it means to be a boy or a girl, Jason. So it may say female, or it may say
It's a child.
male. It is a human child. So probably some sort of space thing.
All right,
But
space
there
thing,
will
I
be
like that.
confetti poppers because I heard that's a really good way to reveal the gender.
That's a good way to do it. I agree. And
Thank
there you go, Dan. As always, we appreciate the submission. If you too have a wacky question for the community grab bag, hit us up on Twitter. It works the best at Fluxtaposed, and we'll make it happen. That is going to conclude the show for this week.
This portion of the broadcast.
Right, fun activity for you guys. I don't really have content planned for next week. I thought, hey, how about we do a little listener's choice? So if there's anything like specific you guys would want to hear us cover, or if a specific direction you want us to take it, like you want us to do a top 3, do you want us to hit some news, hit us up on social media or come to Discord, fluxtaposed.com/Discord. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll do it for next week's show. And hey, check out patreon.com/fluxtaposed. Great way for you to support this zany project that we've been doing 4 years now. I can't even keep track. It's been so long. So we have to say a thank you for all of those that do. But a special thanks to our Arbiters of Awesomeness, Kevin Austin, Kyle Heyman, Edwin Callow, Tyler Allen, Tom Servo, and our Executors of Excellence, Josh Barboni, Dan Anthony, and Siri Renee. As always, we thank you for your support each and every month. I'm done.
Yes,
I've got to prep because I've got a Tecmo Super Bowl championship to win
Oh!
tonight. Going down. Me and Chaffee are playing for the belt.
Chaffee's going to pick San Fran. I'm telling you.
Got to. All right, gang. So we'll see you next week. Thank you, as always, for watching. Thank you for listening. Play them out, Lucas.
Ha, da, 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 da.